Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And I just got a story that came in. I don't usually, I check my phone on my emails quite regularly for when stories come in. I check on them. I get back within 2 to 3 days usually. This guy sounds really urgent, and after I read his story, my heart goes out to him because I can feel his his pain right now. And it's a divorce, and he's got kids, and he's thinking about writing a letter. So he just hit me at the right time right now where I went, you know what, I'm going to get him a quick turnaround here on what he wrote. I've never been through a divorce. I don't have kids, but like I said, I definitely feel for him in this situation. So, hi coach, writing this to you as a last resort. Dun dun dun. A little bit dramatic there. It's not a last resort, pal. It's not a last resort. That's one thing you got to do is reframe things to not make it a last resort. You're going to be okay. You're going to go through some shit right now, but you're going to be okay. You're going to make it, and you got to tell yourself that too. Writing a letter sounds great, but I have no idea what to put into it. So I don't know where he got the idea of writing a letter, if that was from an outside website. I don't know if that was from a video. I have over 300 videos now, so I don't know if that was from one of my videos from before discussing someone else that wanted to write one. But we was together for nearly 29 years when she moved out in April last year with our two boys, now age 21 and 14. 29 years, damn. For all these people out here that send me letters, they've done 2 or 3. I can't even imagine. My longest relationship's 6.5. Wow, good for you, man. That means that to keep things together for 29 years means you've done something right throughout the relationship. So pat yourself on the back there, because that is very difficult to do, to stay together 29 years, and you did it, man. Regardless of what happens now, in the present or in the future. So you got 2 boys aged 21 and 14. The 21-year-old hasn't spoken a word since February, blames me for the separation, obviously, and whatever she tells him. Well, that's not really fair. I don't know what the rest of the story is, but to turn kids against you, he's at a funny age at 21. People that, when you're in your early 20s, your emotions are up and down really high. You don't have a lot of life experience. You don't understand. You haven't been through a similar situation in the past. So something happens and they just react out of emotion. And they hear one little bit of information from someone that's the mom, and they just go on it. So don't take it completely personal. I have a really close friend of mine who's got a 21-year-old and a 23-year-old, and they fell out, and he's tried to make up, and I don't think what he did was that bad, and they're just dug in. Okay, she has hired a lawyer to divide assets, and I have one now. 2, she arranged independent valuation for a house the other day. Okay, this is when it gets serious. When you're dividing up assets and you're getting an evaluation on the house, you got to be real about this now. It's getting real. It's happening. Breakup happened because she found out I got it on internet dating site twice when I was feeling lonely and very down. So you were on an internet dating site, you had 29 years of marriage, she found out about this. That's a no-no, obviously. The idea that you were feeling lonely and very down, why? Do you attribute that to your marriage? Was that an outside thing? Could it be that part of the reason you did that because your relationship was broken in some way? You weren't fully addressing some things, so you'd have to elaborate on that. I then found out she was getting lots of texts from a guy from her work, and she was meeting up with him at the gym near her work. Where there's smoke, there's fire sometimes. There's no reason for, if you're in a romantic relationship or 29 years of marriage, that someone's going to exchange multiple texts. Okay, I don't know what the text read. I would need to know that. But also meeting up at the gym as like gym buddies. I mean, if someone's like, I'll put it this way, there's different scenarios, there's different circumstances. This is why you need to write your story out. But if someone's meeting at the gym regularly as partners, no, I don't think that's acceptable. That's strengthening their relationship. If the guy was a personal trainer and he was helping her out in a workout, I would still be suspect of that. They should just meet once or twice. But there's no reason to be gym buddies, no. There would have to be a really good reason. If she was deflecting that, like, oh, you're being over controlling or something, that's suspect. She would have to explain that. And I wouldn't assume the worst, but I would want to know the fucking story. That's for sure. Whenever I asked her, said that they were just friends and someone from work must have gave her the number, and they only became friends after he saw her upset after what I did and comforted her, whatever that means. Yeah, whatever that means. So 2 wrongs don't make a right, okay? And her just happening to meet this guy right at the moment that you did what you did is suspect. And if she's that easily manipulated by a guy that comes on to her when she's feeling down, because I mean, this guy, like, oh, I really want to comfort her. Oh, do you want to get together for the gym sometime and exchange texts? That's deeper than just coming up to a coworker and saying, hey, are you okay? I mean, come on, give me a break. Then she tells me they weren't seeing each other no more, meaning they were seeing each other at some time. Yet, just before Christmas, 2016, saw her car at his work with both of them in it. What do you want me to say? I mean, you don't know what you don't know, but that's intent. That's intent right there. Whatever they were doing, if they hadn't done it yet, meeting up and hanging out in a car together at his work. Like I said, if they didn't do anything yet, they were working on it. I went over and asked what is going on. And she said nothing. If she said nothing, that means guilt in my book. When someone is, I've read a book on this. The Spy Switch. No, I'm getting it wrong. But basically, an ex-CIA agent, and he's talking about how to understand when people lie at you. I'm not saying I'm an expert because I read one book, but what comes up in this is generally people get really angry if you accuse them of something they didn't do. They really get upset. People that just stay quiet is usually shame. Someone that doesn't know what to say or something like that, in most cases. Not a guarantee, but the fact that she just said nothing. I shouted at both. She says I overreacted, don't think so, when I was lied to about not being in contact, yet they end up in a car together. Where there's smoke, there's fire on this one. And you got lied to directly. She told me she went there to wish everyone in that department a Merry Christmas, and he wanted to look at her new car. She had it for 9 months by then. Sorry for laughing, but you know that's a joke. I mean, again, we used to get in arguments over this, so there was obviously a lack of trust in the relationship at the end, and buildup of stuff probably got to her. Well, it got to you, right? Don't backpedal. She's guilty of something here. This sounds highly suspect. I mean, you didn't get hard evidence. But let's say that you didn't do what you did. Let's say that you didn't get caught on an internet dating site, which is a separate matter, okay? That you were feeling lonely and down, and you thought you needed to do that. And she did this without that happening. Like I said, there's just something, it doesn't add up. If they didn't do anything, they had intent of doing something. How many people at a job were like, oh, let me go check out your new car that you've had for 9 months and sit in it together? Not very. That's like 1 percentile, and it's personally it would be inappropriate if you were married. I think if a guy at a Christmas party where there was drinking probably going on to say, "Hey, let me check out your car," and then you guys sit together in the car. We are not talking at the present and have next to no communication between each other because this is what her lawyer has asked. Well, lawyers will be lawyers, and you probably have to respect that. I'm not aware of the legalities of where you're at in the world or what you have to do, but talk to your lawyer and tell them what to say. But if she doesn't want to talk to you outside of that, thinking a letter might be a good idea, but no idea at all what to write. This is absolutely the last resort. I could lose the house as well as my family. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Well, this is why I immediately got to this letter, because I think this is what you're considering is serious here, and you're really going through it. But why are you doing it? let's be clear. It sounds like you're more concerned about I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm sorry. You're very concerned about losing the house and the family, being the kids, just as much possibly as losing her. But you can't put a blind eye to the fact of what went on, right? What happened? If she didn't cheat, she came damn fucking close. And then she accused you of doing something. And on the other end, you're on an internet dating site, so you're basically saying you're lonely and very down, but you're also saying the relationship on your end's not working either. You're not getting your needs met. And right now it's a broken relationship. And right now, if it's gonna work, you need some time apart. So even if you weren't getting divorced, you'd need to separate for a while and re-enter the relationship at a new level. I just talked about this in another post recently. I talked about cheating. Again, this isn't proven cheating right here. It's on The Verge, I guess. The book is called The State of Affairs by Esther Perel, and it's something to look at. But what are you writing a letter for is my first question. I mean, are you asking for forgiveness? Are you asking to make this thing work to keep the house and the family? Because if you got a 21-year-old and a 14-year-old, they're at ages now where the 21-year-olds, I mean, even if they're living at home and whatnot, they're going to have to deal with this. You don't want to put them through a toxic relationship because you want to keep your house. And you'd have to point blank, direct, ask her, what's going on with this guy? If, are you have this lined up? But that's also not going to do you any better. If you write this letter, be prepared to be drop down to ground zero again. And what's your intention? Okay, my number one question, what's the intention of writing a letter? What's your ideal outcome of this? What are you trying to get from it? What are you requesting? That she stops seeing this guy, that she tries to make it work? You still need time apart. And the fact that you told me that she's already hired a lawyer, divided assets, and had the house evaluated, she's already very close to the finish line. If you want to write a letter as a last-ditch effort, go ahead. But be prepared for the consequences and be very clear on what you're writing the letter for. And the one thing that I would be fighting for if I were you is to find out what she said to your 21-year-old son that made him not want to talk to you, and if she's being honest and clear with him about her own actions, because that is not fair. And if you guys could have a sit down as a family prior to the divorce just to discuss what happened, I think that would be good. But the idea of you writing a letter because you want to keep your house and your family, I don't think that the letter will just make it happen like that. I think there's more to this. And if you want to consider doing a live coaching, that might help out a lot too. I would need to know a little bit more details about what's going on, and that's something we would do in a coaching. But write a letter out first and see. And sometimes when you write rather than think, you get a lot of shit out of your mind, and you get surprised about where you're headed with that and where your intentions are. So before you think about just writing a letter, write out, why am I writing a letter? What do I really want from this woman? Not the family, not the house. Put that separate. What do I want from this relationship? Has this relationship been broken for a while? Ask yourself some really good questions and get to the core of that. And you might come to the conclusion, look, we might need to separate. We might need to get a divorce, but I do want to work on how we're going to divide the house and how we're going to have a relationship with my children still. So I hope that helps you. Please visit writemac.com if you've got a breakup story you'd like to share and get my take on, or if you'd like to book a live coaching session. Thank you for supporting the channel.